I begin this program by touching the feet of my gurus Shri Nana Saheb Oke, Shri Pramod Bhadkamkar and Ustad Allarakha Sahib, and also by offering a prayer to Lord Ganesha, the god of music. Ganesh Vandana. Dhagitittakritatittakatittakagindha Shiva Shankara Sutta Umanandana Siddhi Pradayaka Shri Gajanana Kattittakritatittakatittakagintagitittakatagadiganalambodara Vigneshwara Ganesha Ganpati Jagat Rakshaka Aditvam Pranamadha Pranamadha Pranamadha. I grew up in Nasik, a city about 100 miles north of Mumbai. My father is professor of biology and my mother is employed at the Mint of India. My sister, Sonali, who is 2 years younger than I am, is interested in bird watching, astronomy and computers. She also plays the harmonium and the keyboard. A Peshkar is a warm-up before the main body of a tabla presentation. They are usually of a very slow tempo. In a Peshkar, the ghumara on the dagga and the as on the tabla is important. A Peshkar can be compared to alap in Indian vocal music. So here's an example of a Peshkar. When I was 7, my parents suggested that I learn tabla as a musical instrument. They took me to Shri Nana Saheb Oke, a renowned tabla player who lived close by. The idea didn't appeal to me a whole lot. Little did I know at that time that the visit was going to change my life. For the next 5 years, Nana Saheb was my teacher and guide. During this time, my father bought me cassettes of other great tabla players such as Ustad Allarakha Sahib, Ustad Zakir Hussain, and so on. It was then that the power and beauty of this great instrument slowly dawned on me. Shri Nana Saheb is a self-taught tabla player. He was a great force in my life, encouraging me to practice hard and take the Visharad exams which lead to a recognized degree in the field of music. He is also one of the few who teaches the history of the tabla and gives written notes to explain the different concepts. I simultaneously learned tabla from Shri Pramod Bhadkamkar, a disciple of Pandit Suresh Talwarkar. Shri Pramod helped me enhance the sharpness of my bowls. He himself is a famous accompanist for the Kathak style of dance. A great opportunity came when I met Ustad Usman Khan from Pune, a distinguished performer of the sitar. Through him, I realized the art of accompaniment with other instrumentalists. He has a musical group called Nad, which means sound in Sanskrit. Quaida is one of the most beautiful creations in the tradition of tabla. It's like a poem that has been created with the theme as the fixed composition and all the other variations that are improvised by the player. These variations are like embroidery on cloth or ornaments on the body. The player has to make sure that all these variations rhyme well and bond seamlessly with the central fixed theme. So here's a Quaida from the Punjab Gharana. While attending a music concert in 1997, I got introduced to Ustad Zakir Hussain, eldest son of Ustad Allarakha. He asked me to visit his father at the Allarakha Institute of Music in Mumbai. After my first visit, Abbaji, as we lovingly called him, asked me to become his regular student. This was the turning point. It should be mentioned here that Ustad Allarakha belonged to the Punjab Gharana. A Gharana in Indian classical is a school of music which follows a particular style of exposition. A year later, Abbaji accepted me as his official disciple. The ritual of acceptance is known as Ganda-Bandhan and the student is known as Shagird. The date of my acceptance was 5th March 1998, which was a year after I had started lessons with him. During this ceremony, the teacher ties a thread around the wrist and feeds the student. The student then touches the feet of the teacher for his blessings, feeds the teacher, garlands him, and makes a humble offering. The rule is that when a new student is inducted through Ganda-Bandhan, all other existing students go through Ganda-Bandhan as well. At the end, the students give a demonstration of their skills. The great aspect of all this is the affirmation of Guru-Shishya Parampara, which is the continuity of the spiritual bond between teacher and student. The student is supposed to completely submit himself to the will of the teacher, while the teacher, through both love and authority, guides the student in achieving the highest goals possible. In India, these cultural traditions are timeless and cross all religious boundaries. It is impossible to learn Indian classical music without complete spiritual submission to the Guru. There are many fixed traditional compositions which have been handed down from teacher to student over the past many hundred years of tabla tradition. And these fixed traditional compositions have special names like Gat, Paran, Toda, Tihai, Chakradhar, Bedam Chakradhar, and so on. We can call them as bowls altogether. वेदम फरमाइशी चक्रधार दिन दिन दर दर गगत गगतन गद दिन गदन दर गद दान गत धा धान गत ते कत क दर दर गद गद धा दिन गद गद धा दिन गद गद धा दिन गद गद धा दिन दिन Since early childhood, my sister and I have had a great deal of interest in the stars and planets. We often asked our parents on these issues. When I was 10, we both joined the Khagol Mandal, which is a local astronomical club. In addition to that, my friend Rohit Babar and I wrote 80 articles on astronomy in a newspaper with state-level circulation. Later, these articles were compiled together and published in the form of a book called Come, Let's Watch the Sky. The tabla is the king of percussion instruments in India. It has a history of over 600 years. It's a musical instrument which produces beat. This is really the one which is called the tabla, while this is called the dagga. Both these instruments are hollow pots. The tabla is made up of wood, while the dagga is made up of metal. The instruments are covered with goat leather, which is stretched down with the help of these strings known as wadis and these circular rings known as gazra. These are wooden blocks known as gattas which help maintain the surface tension on the skin. The instrument rests on cushioned rings known as gadis. There are 3 zones each on the tabla and the dagga. The innermost zone, which is black in color, is the shai. The outermost zone is the chart, while the space in between is the maidan. These 3 zones are very important to create different kinds of sounds and syllables, such as In early 1999, an opportunity came my way to visit the US as an exchange student through Rotary International. The principal of our school, Mrs. Atavle, urged me to apply for the Rotary Youth Exchange program. I came to Flint, Michigan in August of '99 and attended high school as a junior. Growing up, you realize that you cannot make it alone. You constantly need the support of people around you and the blessings of elders. I have been very lucky. I cannot forget Mr. and Mrs. Koletkar and Mr. Aviraj Taide, a musician, for all the help they gave me. Mr. Vasant Poddar, a writer and a dramatist from Nasik, introduced me to the music circle in the US. The help given me by my relatives, all the teachers at school, together with that of my friends around me, is really beyond esteem. I owe my coming to the US entirely to the well wishes of people like they. The process of playing 3 notes in one beat, or 5 in one beat, or 7 in one beat, and basing it in any rhythm cycle is known as playing of Chhand. The performer and the audience are bonded together through Chhand. So here's the Tistra Jati Chhand, which is 3 notes in one beat based in 3 tal of 16 beats. Has been an unforgettable experience. A people so serious about work on one hand and so jovial and humorous on the other. Their ability to accept different cultures and musical traditions is striking. I will always remember the loving care of my host families, Mr. and Mrs. Marur, Mr. and Mrs. Henry, Mr. and Mrs. Arora, and Mr. and Mrs. McClanahan. In Indian classical music, there is an inseparable relationship between Laya, Tal, and Sur. Laya is akin to speed, that is the fixed time gap between 2 beats or matras as they are called. There are 3 types of Laya: Vilambit, slow, Madhya, medium, Druta, fast. The notes of Indian classical music are popularly known as sur or tune in English. Tal is a fixed rhythm cycle consisting of beats. A tabla cannot produce sur, but it can produce tal in a constant lay. This is the Vilambit Theka of Teen Tal. Fast tempo. Again Vilambit Theka. I always carry with me my book of autographs, in case an opportunity comes along. The music circle of Mumbai teems with the greatest that the world of Indian music has to offer. In the presence of stalwarts such as they, I realize that I am an integral fragment of a vast tradition that is thousands of years old and which has as its root the deepest spirituality of mankind. Chalan is a group of syllables repeatedly played with variations. It's an example of how softly tabla can be played. Chalan are the specialities of Punjab Gharana. Abbaji was very simple in his manners and in his attire. He used to drink tea by pouring it onto a saucer like so many other Indians. Often he watched cricket matches while giving lessons. He was not overly concerned about what people might think about things like that. He was also a very caring and loving person. Sometimes he bought samosas and biscuits for his students. On such occasions, we relaxed and had good tea. Once he scolded us for walking to his house in the rain. He was so concerned about our health. All this came very naturally to him. Abbaji had as his lifelong companion Ammiji, who played a major role in the institute's musical activities. She was also like a mother to all his students. In the whole of his life, Abbaji seemed to have only one problem. When it came to music, he could not compromise. When I made a mistake, he used to be very angry. And when I made a repeated mistake, well, I cannot describe it. He used to throw volcanic lead at me. I have heard that in his youth, Abbaji used to get up early in the morning and perform warm-up exercises on the tabla for 4 hours continuously. Then again in the evening, he used to practice for another 5 to 6 hours. This was his daily routine. He had paid his dues through total commitment to his art form. It was perfectly all right for a man like he to be demanding on his students. No one likes to be scolded, but we all understood. While in the US, I heard the tragic news that he was gone. The void left by his passing away cannot be filled. How can I ever find another teacher like Abbaji? A Rela is designed to act as a grand finale at a tabla presentation. In a Rela, there are bowls like Tira Kita, Dhina Gina, Dhira Dhira, or Ghida Naga. So let's hear a Rela from the Punjab Gharana to which Ustad Allarakha Saheb himself belonged.